This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded July 28th, 2014. Episode 209. KiCad, Kickoff, Kopophobia.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Who has released
The
material.
Hounds. The Hounds, yeah.
You've released a whole bunch of your contextual electronic stuff.
Yeah.
Tell us why. Tell us what and why and where.
What is all of the KiCad videos that were part of Contextual Electronics?
Sweet.
Why is because a few reasons.
It wants to be free. Is
right.
the title of your...
That's right. That was the post. It was KiCad information wants to be free. Yeah. I thought that was clever. But mostly it's actually because, the videos, I was looking back at what version I was on, and if you look at like the KiCad versioning, it's like they're up into the 5,000s now. I was on BZR 4004, and they're up in the 5200s, I think, now, or something like that. Like, they're really much further along, not necessarily stable, but like the most recent quote-unquote stable build is 4022, but that's just because they don't actually release those anymore, but that's another thing.
Right.
But basically, so, that stuff's moving so fast anyways that might as well get it out there while people can still use it. And, and because I'm using a piece of free open source software, like I want to give back to. And so it just seemed like the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do. Congratulations. You have my utmost respect.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So
they're all sorry?
Oh, they'll all be on my Contextual Electronics YouTube channel. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Terrific. How many videos all up?
I thought it was only like 38. I counted 38, and then I went back, and I'm like, no, there's some missing here. So it'd probably be closer to like 50. I think all told in the KiCad course, it's like with like the getting the Blinky videos that were already out there, it's like 55 or something like that. And there's a bunch more that I need to be making too. So
got it.
It's up there.
Are they like how to use KiCad, or are they like more generic in terms of layout stuff?
Interesting. No, it's actually more about the program itself, like a lot of the quirks and stuff like that. Because, for example, like putting like a silkscreen graphic, and I've never done that in Altium, and I've done that once or twice in Eagle, but in KiCad it's kind of wonky, like the conversion.
It's wonky in Altium too.
Is it? Yeah, you'd think that'd be easy. I mean, like that's like what people. That's like the flair that makes boards fun. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem that hard, but maybe I'm wrong.
For donkey's years, Altium's solution to that, it was last time I looked. It might, I don't know. I think they've changed it in the latest versions, which I don't use. But yeah, it was like some script, because Altium's very script-based. You can write scripts to do a lot of stuff. And so I think somebody, I don't even think it was somebody at Altium, wrote a script to import a bitmap file and convert it into tracks on the silkscreen graphic, right? And it's like this became the standard way to import. So you go to Altium's help, wiki or whatever, how to import, images onto your silkscreen. It's easy. Go into here, blah, 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 run this script, blah, 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 and, and it's like some, 10-year-old script, That,
well, and I think that's probably the same thing. I think that's actually, that might be how Eagle does it too, and I'm pretty sure that's actually how KiCad, I mean, there's a button in KiCad, but really I think that's just calling a script. And,
okay. Yep.
Yeah, but then you have to actually go in and modify, that's like the wonky stuff though. Like you actually have to, if you want to change the layer it's on, right? You need to, if it's going to be in copper versus in the silk, then you got to change the number and you got to find it, and it's just these weird formats and stuff like that. So it's a lot of the little stuff that's out there.
So that's a real problem with material like this, isn't it? Is that it does go out of date. If you're showing people how to use a tool, well, it can be out of date in a year easily.
Oh yeah, right.
So,
and I do call that like, even if people look at the KiCad project already, there's already, I think on the newest versions, I know at least the footprint names changed, like the extension on them even. dot pretty.
Yeah. Didn't the whole footprint manager, the way it worked, changed or something, or was vastly improved or something like that?
Yeah, I haven't even touched it. And that's what it comes down to. It's like this in any version or any tool, right? Usually when you're at a company, they'll standardize on something because it's such a disruptive event when you do make the change, right? Like even, you have Altium, I don't know what version of Altium you have, but for you to change to the newest Altium, there would be, even if there was a smooth transition, it would still be disruptive. And
absolutely.
Like especially at at a company I've worked at in the past, it was like we tried upgrading and like the entire structure changed. It's changed from like a file-based system where you could actually go in and access the file to a database. Like how different is that? Like that's
totally.
That's there's no coming back from that. They could we have an exporter, but not really. Yep. So yeah. So yeah, you're totally right though. It's all changing, and especially with KiCad and the CERN guys jumping in, and there's other stuff changing with KiCad soon. So it's crazy. So might as well get it out there now, and this is still a build that people can get. And I think the 4022 is not that much different from I have that on different computers. So
got it.
Yeah. And
to go along with that, you've got something else as well.
Oh yeah. So KiCad.info is the new site. So basically, contextual electronics is still there. It's still it's still a course for people to. That's really the learning about how to do the layout side of things, like you mentioned. And but actually about the KiCad and everything else, and I'm sure that how to do layout will sneak in there as well, and schematics and everything else. But I had talked on the Amp Hour in the past about Discourse, which was a forum software that I really liked, and that was actually when I was installing it.
Right.
So that's there's now a forum for talking about KiCad specifically, because there's nothing else out there. I mean, there is a Yahoo group for KiCad that some people like, but I'm not.
Yahoo groups have had their day.
Yeah.
Yahoo groups basically work as an email list. It's still not a bad solution if you just want to correspond with the email, like you get all.
Yeah.
If it's not a big group and you just want to... But apart from that, no, it's just garbage. No one uses it anymore.
Yeah, and actually, I was back on IRC. I'd forgotten that we have an IRC channel for the Amp Hour.
There you go.
Oops, sorry, folks. But I was back on IRC today, and actually, I looked on Freenode, which is the same IRC server that we use. There is a KiCad channel. There's a huge electronics channel. There were 600 people in the electronics channel on there. That was crazy. I didn't realize
there were 600 people live at any one time chatting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they weren't all chatting, but they were at least on the channel monitoring, watching.
Right. So they've left their browser open, or they left their IRC program open in that thing up in the corner or something. Right. Yep.
Yeah. So it's there's stuff out there, and that's good. I mean, and because no one's gonna find something, like not one solution is gonna work for everyone. So. This one works for me, and hopefully it works well. And
Yep.
So yeah.
Well, technically we're competing then, because I've got a KiCad section on my forum.
You do, and that's good too. I mean, and like that's a different. So you and I have talked about this off the air before, but like Discourse is a newer type of forum software. A lot of people prefer the standard inline type stuff that you have, and that's
the
great.
The old BBS style.
Right. I think having more channels with if there's, as long as there's people that are interested on each one, that's all that really matters, right?
Of course.
It can, if like the big stuff like the IRC channel, you can get lost in the shuffle there, right? And then there's always like these social structures that set up as well. There's always the wise old hands and the people get yelled at for not using the search bar and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell I've been on
forums. This brings back memories, actually, of when Altium threatened me to and asked me to take down my domain name, because I actually registered Altium for. We probably discussed this like years and years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
We've been doing this show a long time, so it's years and years.
Yeah, it's 4 years in 2 weeks, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Geez, you get less for murder.
I know.
Anyway, Altium, that brings back memories. Altium, because I registered altiumforum.com, and it just basically pointed... Well, I set up like a separate forum, I think.
Right.
Yes, I did. Yeah, set up a separate BBS forum, and they came along and went, you can't use the name Altium, it's trademark, blah, 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 cease and desist immediately.
Right.
It's like, yeah, stick it up your ass, whatever. As if I give a shit.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that was funny. Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean...
You know what else is funny?
What's that, Dave?
Can we get it over and done with?
Oh, are you going to talk about graphene
Kickstarter
crap? Yeah.
Yep, bullshit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Or do you want to leave that until the end?
Oh, it doesn't matter to me, man. It doesn't matter to me. Go ahead. Let's talk about this.
This guy, he started a Kickstarter campaign to do a rechargeable battery, right? And okay, it's a rechargeable battery. It uses a supercap. In fact, he specifically said it uses a lithium-ion supercap. And I went, okay, great. It actually looked quite good. It was the same size as a standard AA battery, right? But he had hacked in a lithium-ion supercap and a little voltage regulator board, so it gave out like a constant 1.5 volts over its entire life and then just, shut off. And he had like a separate charging ring on the outside so it could be fast charged and everything else. And, on the surface, it sounded really good. And then you start to read the claims. Well, it's got 1150 milliamp hours and it charges in 26 seconds. And you start to smell the bullshit. I mean, your technical mind, your mind's just kind of doing sort of ballpark calculations in the back of your head going, that doesn't sound right. And, of course, you do the basic math, and to recharge a 1150 milliamp hour battery in 26 seconds requires 159 amps, right? just small problems like that for starters, right? And
and we should point out there too. I mean, because there's beginners in the audience too, and the reason that that's a big deal is that when you have any kind of resistance in line in your charger, that's gonna melt.
And just getting the connections that are capable of 160 amps, right? This is. Like, really, 160 amps is very serious business.
Yeah.
Right?
You ever seen those connectors, like, from, who is it, like, I think TE Connectivity, a bunch of them have them. I think Molex has them, too, but, like, those things, like, the 100-amp rated ones, like, even the 100-amp ones.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are, like, they look like Duplox. Duplos? Is that what it is?
Oh, Duplo, right.
Yeah, like the big Lego type things. They look like that.
Yeah, the big Lego Duplo.
It's just, like, all copper, and then, like, plastic sheathing.
They're massive. Yeah. Well, this is a problem that Elon Musk had on the Tesla Roadster, right? It charges so fast they had to invent their own connector for it because there was nothing else on the market that could handle the power and the current.
Right.
It just couldn't. He talks about it like 100 microohms resistance in the connector equals 50 watts lost or something. It's just insane.
Right.
And I think it's 300 amps or something it charges at, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't off the top of my head.
For that.
It's a good couple
There's
of
a lot of
amps.
fast charging type. So they have their network now too, and then I know ABB stuff was always talking. They have chargers now, and like there's a bunch of solutions especially over in Europe, like Norway, and like a lot of those countries all have even more chargers than the U.S. So so that's a lot of current,
because they can charge that car to 80% in 20 minutes,
right?
And it's just crazy. Hang on, 60 amps, 80 amps they're talking about here. Yeah, I don't think it's in the hundreds, but it's in the, it's almost the 100 amp range or something like that. So, and 120 kilowatts.
Well, that whole that whole square relationship in the power equation, right? I squared R.
Exactly.
That blows.
I squared R. I squared R is your nemesis as an electronics engineer. I squared R losses.
And copper is your friend. And that's what a lot of this stuff tries to go towards. I mean, they try and drop the resistance, but it's like there's no practical superconductor out there, right? And unless you get something that has practical superconductors, then you either have to go up in voltage and, have a high voltage charger as well, and then convert it later, or lots of copper.
Well, but even if you have room temperature superconductors,
Yeah.
You're not going to get a perfect... You can't just build them into a connector and then just go, I've got a perfect connection, right? You've got dirt and grime and crap and surface error and all sorts of,
and compression and all that other stuff. It's like
compression,
it's like material science and physics. It's like it's
exactly all blend together, and it's just it's nasty. Anyway, this thing's 159 amps. Thank you very much. Okay, like come on.
So 159 times 159 is 25281 times. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Give him a milliohm. What do you think?
Milliohm. Yeah,
milliohm,
okay.
That's still 25 watts lost.
25 watts lost in your 1 milliohm connection.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot beat the laws of physics, Captain. I can't. I don't have a Scottish accent. But,
right? Yeah, it's okay. Don't bother. Okay, so that's one thing. So what else is there? So now, I was actually interested in this as well because have you ever played with the lithium-ion capacitors that they talked about? Because those are actually like on Mauser's catalog, right? That
you can buy them. These are real things. Yeah. They're really groovy. I've never played with one.
Yeah, I think
I've had a look at the data sheets.
One. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think
they're pretty kick-ass.
I think that was another thing that was kind of fishy. So a lot of this is that there was a couple Hackaday articles that Brian Benchoff wrote, and then some interesting. So there, I don't know if I could say this. There's some interesting comments on Hackaday.
Yeah, I know.
But no, some people brought this up too, like just the available sizes even in the voltages needed, because you need to also match the your voltage rating as well for if you're going to charge at a higher voltage or anything else like that.
Oh yeah, of course. No.
So because it's trying to fit in the double A shell size.
Here's the thing, right? He did this campaign saying it's a AA battery, it's got 1150 milliamp hours, right? And it uses a lithium-ion capacitor in it. So, okay, people went and checked, including myself, went and checked the data sheet for these lithium-ion capacitors that he showed in the project, in the photos, by the way. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, you can actually fit one of these in a AA battery. Great. I think it's the 40 farad version or something. Don't quote me. But, it's like the smallest one they have, right? And, okay, it all fits. Everything's hunky-dory. This project is could
looking
possibly
good so
work,
far. Yeah.
Right? You can physically build it. Yes, you can physically build it. You can buy these capacitors, and that's what he implied in the campaign was that I need the money to build the boards. Take boards into production and everything else, right? And it sounded great until you do the math on that again, and it turns out that capacitor that can fit in the AA battery only has a capacity of I think it's 35 milliamp hours.
Yeah.
Oops.
Right.
Not 1150, but 35. And it's just no. So anyway, everyone called bullshit on that, including Hackaday and all the comments on Hackaday, as you said, and on the EEV blog forum. Mm-hmm. And I was going to do a video on that, but before I could get around to doing that, the guy who's running this, came out and said, "Oh no, the real secret that I didn't tell everyone is that it's a graphene capacitor."
But wait, there's more.
There's more. And I make my own graphene at home, which again you can do.
It's true.
People are making. There's YouTube videos out there making
with the
their
CD
own graphene
thing, right? Wasn't that what it was with one of those the burners that can burn? They can etch like a laser etch on the top of a CD, like the actual label maker.
Oh, no, I haven't heard that one.
I think that's what it was. They just spread a paste, and then they just wrote all ones or something like that, and it basically created this film on the top. Yeah.
Ah, right. Cool. Anyway, you can make your own graphene.
Yeah.
So once again, it's plausible, right? It becomes plausible again. And now he's saying, oh, no, what I really need the money for is I need $8,000 to pay a capacitor manufacturer to manufacture this graphene capacitor for me using my graphene that I give them. And it's like, yeah, dude, okay. Well, I'll take your word for it that you've done a deal with a capacitor manufacturer to make your own graphene capacitors. Okay, fine. Okay, I gave him that one.
Yeah.
And then I did a little bit of research, of course, as you do. in these things, and it turns out it's very easy to find that even the cutting-edge research of graphene capacitors, which are not in production yet, by the way,
right?
But this guy claims, I'll go straight into production, is only 12 times better, 12 times better volumetric capacity than state-of-the-art lithium-ion capacitors, which he was going to use. So even if you multiply 35 milliamp hours by 12, you're still nowhere near his claimed capacity.
Oh yeah,
like,
right.
It's
right.
just
That's,
like so.
That'd only be like
everything
400 or
falls
something,
down.
410 or something like that.
It was 420 or something milliamp
right.
hours. So the whole deck of cards on this project just falls down, and anyone with anyone with any technical knowledge and 10 minutes of googling can prove the same thing.
Yeah.
And yet he wants us to believe it. I mean, it's just no. Sorry,
that is
not going to happen. And that's the problem we've got these days. We've got people starting these, I actually support him, making a graphene capacitor and doing all this sort of stuff. It's great. Okay, and doing a Kickstarter, great.
Right.
But, just don't go throwing around figures that you don't know about and you haven't tested.
So we need a third Kickstarter rule change, right? Remember the big deal was the rule change. You need to have production pictures, which they have, right?
Yes.
That's what happens now.
Right.
Now we need an engineering notebook worth of data,
right,
verified by a third party,
calculations, and by somebody with a grey beard.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like a stamp of approval from like.
Yeah.
I give this 3 stamps of "get off my lawn."
Right. Yeah, well, they can be the categories. It's like "get off my lawn" or "plausible" or whatever.
Right.
Oh goodness! And this comes back to the idea that I had quite a few years ago now to actually start a website or a blog or something that actually vetted projects like this.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a thankless job, I think, right? I mean,
oh yeah, totally thankless. No, I couldn't figure out a way to make money from it, and B, make it worth my time in terms of number of views and things like that. It just wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it's kind of like Snopes for, because like Snopes does that, don't they? They do that. They do like outrageous claims, but it's
But because that's such a wide market, they get billions of views, and they can probably make money from it somehow. I think they've got like full-time staff and everything working.
Yeah, probably, right.
It's great,
Yeah.
So, yep.
Oh, well, another one bites the dust. I mean, this is the same story that we always get, right? I hesitate to bring up EE Store again, right?
Right.
Though I do love laughing about them.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over again. And, well, what the hell do we do? I don't know.
Well, I think it's only a problem when this stuff doesn't get called out, right? I mean, like I've heard stories about people getting called about designing stuff that's like in its final days of Kickstarter, right? And it's
exactly.
Like, hey, can you work on the electrical design for this? It's like, well, what the hell did you just do the campaign for? Like,
I know.
It's just
that's exactly what happened here. The guy who ran this Kickstarter campaign actually saw my blog post and complained. Didn't give any data, of course. Didn't come back with any data, but complained that I should have. Why didn't I contact him? And he would have told. It's like, dude, there's like 10 days left in the campaign. You're taking people's money for something that is easily provable you can't produce. I mean, it's like,
well, and I think
why
there's another key in there though too.
Asking you.
Right? I mean, it's hitting enough of a nerve that people care about it, right? It piques enough interest where people are like, "Oh, I'd love to have that." And then when you don't, right? It's like, "Oh."
Yeah, I know.
It's like learning about and then learning about Santa Claus again on the same day. In case any kids are listening, I don't want to say anything, but
oh, dude, this solar roadways thing, it has gone ballistic. My solar roadways video, we talked about some time ago. Yeah, it's got like over 3,000 comments now, and they keep
good Lord
coming in every day. Boom, there's people defending. Why have you burst their dream? You're just you're just out to destroy people's dreams, and oh fuck.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm the bad guy for telling
big bad wolf,
people
huh,
for telling them people there is no Santa Claus,
Yeah. Oh, he said it.
Sagan's listening. Oh no. Oh, it's I don't know. You've got it, but no. Like if you want to spend your own money researching something, fine. I won't.
Yeah.
I won't burst your bubble. Fine. I'll just have a little giggle and that'll be it. But when you start taking people's money and you haven't done your proper, research on these sorts of things, and you won't admit you're wrong, and you won't release any data, and et cetera, no, I'm sorry, you're just digging your hole deeper and deeper, and you deserve every bit of criticism you get.
Well, I have to say, in general, I'm extremely skeptical about any kind of energy type thing at all anymore.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
Like if people are like, I just feel like that could, that's. You always have to. You hear energy. You just, eventually someone's gonna say free in front of it, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay. Or like even stuff like there's this GE story, right? So GE, there's a Spectrum article, right? A reputable source,
right.
IEEE Spectrum.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
Talks about fuel cell breakthrough and actually starting production, right? Much more credible because it's GE, it's Spectrum, everything else, right? And yet I'm still skeptical, right? I mean, like,
right,
I don't know. Like,
because
I think part of it for me too is like so often, especially with portable power, right? I think I can understand turbine moves, transfer power over AC power lines, goes through transformer, turns on my Vitamix blender, and even though I don't have one, and makes me a smoothie, right? That makes sense to me. I can mostly do that with like chemistries and stuff like that. Fuel cells, batteries. Even like down to the molecular level for like capacitors and the dielectric. Talking about that stuff, like. I just don't feel comfortable anymore. I'm like, I don't believe you. I need to see.
I know.
I need to see something else.
Didn't somebody put yet another Kickstarter? I think it's Indiegogo, or I don't know. Bloody hell. Can't keep up. Didn't they put something on there? There's a Tesla worldwide, power distribution project, and I don't know. Has it reached its funding? I don't know.
Yeah, there was
asked me to comment on this.
Right, the Wardenclyffe Tower.
And it's the same thing.
It was like someone was trying to replicate the Wardenclyffe Tower, which is supposed to push power to the ionosphere, and then people could get free power from their homes, and yada, yada, yada.
Demonstrably possible, okay, kind of, in some way, shape, or form, so it's not totally...
I have to say, that's another one. Okay, Nikola Tesla, genius, absolute genius.
Absolutely.
It was never built, it was never implemented. I know that there was a lot of politics and money involved there too, but I still don't believe it. It doesn't make sense in my brain.
I don't believe the top level claims of what it's, it's going to change the world, blah, blah, blah. No, clearly not. But, there is, once again, any good thing like this, there's a hint of truth to it, right? In some way, shape or form, what they're talking about is technically possible in some way. It doesn't mean it meets their claims, but it's, it's sort of, okay, fine. Whatever,
right.
And
what are the boundary conditions, right? Yeah, it's like it's the same thing with those wireless cell chargers, right? It's like, yes, those do work if you're directly on top of them.
And you're only taking microamp out of it rather than trying to charge up a phone battery, right?
No, I mean they work. I mean they still work with a phone battery with the what's it called? The Qi. It's spelled XI, but it's the Qi charger. There's two different standards now, where they actually have onboard
resonant. Are we talking about the same thing here? We're talking about we're talking about Wi-Fi charging your cell phone battery.
No. Sorry, I'm talking about the pad. So you plug in like a pad, and then once your cell phone's on top of it.
Totally, because they're purpose designed for the task. No, totally.
Right.
And they're
but
coupled,
even those,
as you say, they're resonant coupled. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But even those, they're very distance limited, right? I mean, like that's still.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah.
People have a different view in their mind, right?
Yeah. It's anyway. So people wanted me to comment on this, and it's like, and I got there, and I just read the words like worldwide energy tower and Tesla, and it's just no, stop right there. Like, actually, that's all you have to do these days is mention the word Tesla, and you're instantly crackpot. You know, that's instant tinfoil stuff.
Unless
and
you're Elon
unfortunately, it's
Musk.
gotten to that point. Oh, by the way, speaking of tinfoil, have you seen Weird Al's new video?
I did. Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, with the tinfoil conspiracy
That's
stuff.
right.
It starts out all innocent. We'll have to post it in.
Oh, God.
We won't spoil it for people. It's great.
So he released a bunch of videos, and obviously you and I are both very big fans of his. And he released like a bunch of them, like all in a row, all on different sources. It was actually
seven videos in 7 days across 7 different social media sites.
like marketing wise, he's a genius. But
totally.
yeah. But what was that song? Because I'm thinking of the Handy song, right? I'm so handy. That was one of them.
I don't actually know I can't remember what this one's called because it's something unrelated, and then all of a sudden the video halfway through jumps into this wacky conspiracy tinfoil.
Oh, it was so
stuff.
And it was so unexpected. No, I guess we ruined that too.
I know. It's just we've probably ruined it for people now, right? We should have just said go watch this video, and then they would have been right. Yeah. But it's so good.
Oops. Oh, it's called foil. Okay, yeah, it's
foil. Yeah, right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it starts out. Yeah, it's about using alfoil. You know,
right.
Sorry, aluminum foil for you Yanks.
Aluminium.
Aluminium.
Yeah.
Aluminum. Transparent aluminum.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, it's great. It's just awesome. And there's another couple of... I've been getting into videos recently. People have... this group I had never heard of. Here we go. We're going to talk music. OK Go.
Oh, yeah, I saw you post about them. Yeah, they've been doing stuff for years, man.
I know, and I've only just caught on to their videos. Oh, my God, they've got this Rube Goldberg machine video. Oh,
yeah.
It's just fantastic. And they do it as like a single-shot video.
Yep.
You know, and it's just fantastic.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, just like that. There was a Honda one that did that too. There was a Honda commercial that did that. I remember.
Yeah. I've seen the ad. Yeah, the Honda ad where they take all the parts from a car and they make music out of it. And
yeah.
And
okay.
anyway,
I mean, I think they design a lot of their
videos.
own stuff too, because I know they were at the White House Maker Faire. I know they had a video.
Oh,
as part
were
of
they?
that.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, they're great. I'm sold. I don't care about the music. Well, actually the songs aren't bad. You know.
Yeah, I mean.
But I'm in it for the video clip. You know?
Right.
Yeah, right.
That's okay. Yeah, they have a couple other ones that are like a lot of stop animation and stuff like that. They do some really cool stuff.
Yep.
I mean, like, obviously you and I do. You do much more video than I do, but that stuff takes a lot of time. Like,
I know. That's
like,
as the video producer side of me. I'm a video producer now. If you didn't know.
Yes.
You know? Like, the video producer side of me just knows how much work is involved in that, and holy crap. You know, and then the technical side of me knows how much work is involved in setting up all the perspective stuff that I think was one of the latest videos has all this perspective. Oh, fantastic. Anyway, go watch it. We'll post a link to it.
Yeah.
I won't. Speaking of video skills with a Z and
skills,
talent, my camera, pain in the ass, freaking camera I lost a whole day's worth of shooting and research as well on a video.
That hurts, man. That hurts.
That
hurts
really
no matter
hurts.
how you're doing it, right? Like when you if you're pulling stuff off a a USB drive and that fails. I mean, anytime you lose data like that hurts.
Yep. Especially when it was a one-off thing. I was sure. Well, I know I can redo it. Right, but it was a whole day's research. I was shooting video of me looking through every copy of the old Radio, TVs and Hobbies magazine, right? So I didn't record which episodes, which issues it was and which page I found the stuff that I recorded because I didn't have to, right? It's on the camera.
Right, of course, right. Yeah.
It's on the camera. So now I neatly packed all the magazines away and now I've got to start from scratch again because I don't remember which issues they were. I systematically went through from issue 1 to find all this shit. And, anyway, I pressed record on my camera and it didn't record. It turns out there's a bug in the camera that if you insert the memory card with the power on, then there's a chance that, not always, this is not always reproducible, but there's a chance that the bug will happen and it will read the card fine, but it will appear to write to the card fine, i.e. it pops up on the screen with the little red record symbol and the timer and yep, I'm recording, everything's hunky-dory, VU level meters going, but it doesn't write anything to the card.
Jeez.
and you don't find this out until you finish the entire shoot.
Yeah,
because
right.
I don't review my material back generally when I'm shooting my material. I don't go
I don't review your material either, Dave.
Yeah. Because it's a pain in the ass. I've got to actually put the camera into a different playback mode. Then I've got to scroll through and find it and press it and dick around with the touch screen and play it back. And then I've got to go back into the camera mode. Then I've got to reset my exposure and blah, blah, blah. So that's why I don't check my material generally after I... until I finish the entire shoot. I get back to my computer and I go upload and... What? Oh, where's my 100 files? What? And no, I couldn't recover them either. So that really hurt. That so hurt.
Yeah, that
I cried
sucks.
in the fetal position. Yeah. It was just so bad. Anyway, so I got so angry that I went, bugger this, I'm going shopping for a new camera. And do you think I could find a new camera?
No, of course not.
No.
Well, you're kind of
I couldn't
choosy, though,
find-
too, so...
Oh, but I think my needs are incredibly simple, but there's no perfect camera out there that suits my needs. It's not hard. I just need a camera that can, A, mix audio in the camera, give me proper VU meters on there, right? Actual real VU meters, not some toy kiddie consumer, little wanky surround sound meter, right? And I need a big high-resolution screen on it. I need a killer battery life. I need the ability to take macro lenses and,
So here's a quick question.
Sorry,
then.
I'm asking too much.
Is this an actual... So we talked about the Project R last week when Nadia was on, right? And I always think about this stuff with modular. Is this actually a good opportunity for modular, right? Would you actually benefit from a modular system at that point?
Well... Cameras are pro cameras are kind of modular in that they're usually just a camera and then you add all sorts of stuff on. You add your focus pullers, you add your lenses, you add your external hard drives, you add your external monitors, you add blah, 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 blah. That's what happens when you get up into the pro realm. The camera is just a camera. It's just a sensor and that's fairly much it. Everything else is sort of modular. So...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, man,
but then you end up with this huge Franken monster rig, which for average day-to-day use, it just sucks ass, right? And so,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the same thing applies, though, right? So, like, if you did want to shrink it down, right, they're going to try and modularize a phone, right? Same kind of thing, moving it back down.
Right.
The scale. I don't know, because then they're trying to sell stuff that's on the low end. And you know what I mean? Like, and then there's always upgrade paths, and people always try and hack the upgrade paths and stuff like that, and it always gets...
Well, look, for me, with these cameras, usually the problem... Like, there's nothing wrong with my current camera, this bug aside, right? My current camera would be absolutely kick-ass perfect if it just fixed a few things in software, like the ability to easily replay the last clip that you just shot. I mean, doesn't that seem like... And I've looked at the latest version. My camera's now three generations back, right? So I looked at the latest Canon of this series, and I thought, surely they've fixed all that. Nah, same shit. It's still in there. You can't play back a clip you've just shot easily. You just can't do it. Although, it does. There's a feature in there that allows you to do it. But get this, right? It plays back only the last 4 seconds of that clip, and there's no audio. What? What?
Yeah.
Who thought of that? Why?
Right.
Why?
Right. Well,
what sort of feature is that?
Someone at some point had a user story, right? That's how software people do it, right? They have user stories, and some user somewhere, either that or they guessed.
Right. It's like just simple shit like that. And, and it just frustrates the hell out of me. And I look around and no other camera, can do it. And they don't, make that a feature. There should be a button on the camera or an assignable button. These cameras have assignable programmable buttons. Why can't I assign it to play back the last clip that I shot?
Well, Dave, maybe you should skip this whole skip the open source DMM like you've always talked about and just go straight to the open source camera.
Right. Well, no, look, it comes down to it. The best tool for the job is always going to be a dedicated tool, right? A proper tool. When you're trying, I don't know, modular maybe, can work. But as I said, this is like software. So unless it's like open source software and you can hack on and you can get little apps for it or something, and somebody can write an app that replays the last clip, okay, great. That's a way to solve it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
that stuff's pretty locked down probably, like firmware-wise.
Yep. Exactly. Totally.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
One of my Sony still camera, you can get apps for that. Apparently, I'm not sure how easy it is to write apps. I think it's incredibly difficult. But yeah, you can actually like download apps to it to do different things. So,
oh yeah. Well, I know those things are moving to Android as well. Like they just kind of they figure that stuff will go on there. Who doesn't need Pandora on their fridge or their camera while they're doing stuff?
Right.
I'm sure
anyway,
Pandora
it's
isn't.
Straight in. Does anyone else have any example of when you need a tool that's just not right, and you just can't, no matter what you do, you can't get the right tool for the job? Does anyone else have that problem, or is it just me? Or am I being too fussy? I don't think I'm being too fussy. Is it too much to ask, the stuff I'm asking for?
I can say after just about 4 years, you are pretty fussy, but I don't know about in this case. So...
No, but yeah, surely just the ability to replay the last clip you shot with a single button. Is that, I would have thought that'd be something everyone needed, or a huge number of people needed.
Right.
All right. Anyway, calm down. Deep breath.
All right, Dave, let's get you nice and calmed down by talking about headless bench instruments.
Oh, great. Yeah. You're going to boast here, aren't you, about some... Is this the National Instruments one, or is this the new HP one, or what?
Is there an HP one as well? I don't know. I didn't see that one.
Oh, well, Agilent have actually... I only found this the other day through a local dealer. They're selling this new Agilent. It's like a little, like a ruggedized tablet kind of thing. Which actually connects to all their wireless multimeters and their wireless products. So it's actually, the head. It's like an LCD head. It's a rechargeable. I'll try and find the link for it. And and it's like it looks actually quite nice, and I think it's a great idea. And but as
especially
always,
if you had
it's
a bunch of bodies like installed in the field, right? You kind of walk around
totally.
That,
Yeah. Well, the whole idea is like this hazardous installation thing, which Fluker really pushing now. Fluker so pushing all this wireless stuff. They got this new range of wireless multimeters. I got one sitting here. It's like, But for the market they are trying to target, it's fantastic. You're in all these hazardous environments. You go put your multimeters in there and you shut all your interlocks and safety interlocks and everything else, and then you can stand outside with your little tablet thing and read all your different sensors,
right.
Voltages and currents and phases, and
works great unless it's a anechoic chamber where you're trying to test RF.
Right? Yeah, you might have a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think they're doing that stuff because that's where the money is. I'm guessing, but it's interesting too because that is a real problem to solve. I suppose you had to put wires through.
Yeah, totally.
Some kind of a barrier in the past. So
the problem is marketing get carried away with it and think it's a solution for everybody.
Right.
And it's like
and the cost associated with it, and that's
exactly. Same with these headless instruments, right? Okay, they've got a niche market, right? No denying that. It's great, but it's not a solution for everyone. It's like,
well, so this National Instruments one is it's a bench instrument, right? And so this one kind of makes sense for them just because. They already make all those Pixie cards and stuff like that. They PXI or Pixie. I call them Pixie, but
I don't call them Pixie. No,
you say PXI.
Yep, PXI.
Okay, I like Pixie. It's like it's whimsical.
No,
but, they already have all this stuff anyways, and they're also basically they have a software interface that already makes sense for this, right? Basically, they already abstract out other instruments as it is. You can write drivers for Keithley gear, Agilent gear, Fluke gear. And control it.
Well, that's basically their market. That's their thing. That's what they do.
Well, that's not all they do, but that's one thing that they get paid a lot to do because they'll do like cal stands, right? Like cal stands will run on National Instruments, and they're easy to replicate, and you don't need to code, and that has some benefits for people. And data logging's easy and stuff like that. So, so that makes a lot of sense, and I think that this is kind of a natural extension of that. It's interesting because they're saying PC, which makes sense, right? But then they have iPad, which is different.
Yawn.
Yawn.
Surely you can do it and please tell me you can do it on Android.
Well, not yet, but I'm sure that they'll push that eventually.
It's iPad only. Nah, forget it. Don't want to talk about it anymore. Go away.
No, that's it. Don't even talk to me.
Go on. No, not on my show. Damn it.
Yeah, okay.
None of that iPad talk here.
Right. Well, no, it is interesting too, though, because it's Wi-Fi based.
Right.
So it's not wired as well. I don't know. It's interesting because one argument for a scope, like especially for like a scope. Like I talked about that wireless scope that we saw at Maker Faire this past year as well. You start to run into data problems, right? When you think about the amount of data that like MDO 3000 can do.
Scope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of data, right? And it's not necessarily that you're going to view all of it, but if you're streaming it, like streaming data is always a problem. Even if it's connected by, 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, like you still have to stream it back. You have to get it there reliably. If there's any, it has to be deterministic, right? So that means, like I've worked on a problem like this in the past where, you couldn't even use TCP because it had to be deterministic.
Right.
I'm definitely talking through my butt right now, but I remember it was something like, there was a saying. It was like TCP it'll get there eventually.
Right.
It'll get there, but not the first try. And UDP
even something like Ethernet. Right. Even something like Ethernet is not deterministic. It's got a random back-off retry algorithm.
Right, but I think UDP is like more like streaming, I think.
Right.
That's where I'm really talking on my butt. But I know that's used for video stuff a lot. So
right.
And like high data rate stuff.
I certainly know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee with streaming though, right? There's any number of things can interrupt that, right? You could have a cable that gets bent, and you start to introduce unknown delays, and you start to mess up streaming packets and stuff, and you start losing packets and all this other crazy stuff. And so Wi-Fi takes that to another level where it's like, oh well, crap, like it's not like the Wi-Fi spectrum is exactly empty. So
exactly, or someone farts across the room and boom, bingo, packet lost.
Right. I mean, so if you look at the specs, it's nothing like this. Isn't like anything magical either, right? It's 100 megahertz on dual channels, right? For the scope, gigasample. It's really there's nothing here. It's like you could tell they're doing stuff like the Analog Discovery Kit did, where it's like you're basically taking advantage of commodity level silicon. Right, good, expensive commodity level, but it's not like they're not making custom. I'm guessing they're not making custom silicon like a Tech or an Agilent does, and for the scope. So they're just kind of, it's just like you're seeing it. It's just gonna plod along like this whatever the silicon available is. So,
speaking of tech and processing and plodding along.
Oh yeah, nice one, Dave.
Dude, go and take your Agilent, Tektronix MDO 3000 scope, which you have.
I do have one. Yeah, thank you, Tektronix.
Turn it on.
Yep. Do I actually do this?
Is it actually in front of you now?
It's off to the side, but I could turn it on.
Right. Well, Well, turn it on, switch it to RF mode, and then set the resolution bandwidth filter to 300 hertz or below. With a low, like go from like 0 to 2 megahertz or something. And
is that the one where it takes like 30 minutes to actually update?
Yeah.
I did that by accident.
It's not just the updating. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And it's not just updating. It kills the keyboard.
It does. I know. It kills everything. And I was so confused. And then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that's a spectrum analyzer. That's a really small bin. It's like what, like 0.001 hertz or something like that for the sample rate?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And granted, it has to process, gigabytes worth of data, right? It's got to process a buttload of data,
right?
But, just don't disable the keyboard, like the user interface, because if I want to cancel that or maybe use a cursor for the stuff that's already on the screen while you're taking half an hour in the background to process a new screen's worth of data, fine.
Yeah,
but
that's a bug that's something that get updated, right? I mean, like that is a bug for sure.
Well, it could be inherent in the processing architecture that they've chosen, or the operating system architecture that they've chosen.
So what do you mean, like because it's like context switching, or it's like switching away to a task that's really high intensity?
Yeah, to a task that chews up all the resources, and they're not not releasing that task to go into the user interface.
I have to imagine that stuff is decoupled. Right?
I know, you would think so, but it's
No,
not.
it has to be.
You've used it, it's awful, right?
Well, I just don't turn it down that low. Who turns it down to 300 hertz? I did it by accident, but yeah, don't do that. That's the simple. I mean, like...
I did. I wasn't asking much. I've got a video, which I'm about to release exactly after this, where I do a 0 to 2 megahertz spectrum, and I've got a 300 hertz resolution bandwidth filter, right? I don't think that's quite unreasonable.
You're sweeping with 300 hertz filter? That's what you're doing?
Well, this thing doesn't sweep because it works differently. It's not a real spectrum analyzer in quote marks, Anyway, but, it's 0 to 2 megahertz, right, span with a 300 hertz resolution bandwidth.
I don't know, man.
Right?
2 megahertz on a gigahertz? I mean, like, that's way out of the range. Like, I think that's the wrong... You were the one who says wrong tool for the job, right? I mean, like, that...
Yeah, well, but, come on.
I think you're...
It can be used for this, so
you're
I'm
whinging
using
for
it
the
for
sake
this.
of whinging, but I do agree it's broken.
I'm not whinging for the sake. Yeah, you agree it's broken. Thank you.
I do agree it's broken, but you are not right. You are not right at all. That's like being like, oh, well, my 6.5 digit DMM isn't properly measuring my AC mains. It's like, okay, well, maybe
I'm sorry.
You shouldn't do that.
It should do this. I understand that's got to process a buttload of data, but it shouldn't lock up the keyboard.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it waiting 30 seconds for a new screen worth of data. Fine. But just let me bloody press keys.
All right, I'll give you that. Okay. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, you do that for spectrum analyzers too, right? You'll turn it way down.
Exactly.
You wait for that huge sweep. Right. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
yeah. I put it side by side with my Rigol one, right? Which is a real sweeping spectrum analyzer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I put it side by side, exact same settings, right? And yeah, they took. It was slow to update the sweep. I could actually physically see it sweeping across the screen. Okay, on the Rigol one, you can physically see. It updates each point. As it sweeps across, of course. But I could still use the control panel, right? And stop at any time I want, or go into menus and set other things up while I'm waiting, and holy crap, and the tech just doesn't do it. Sorry, fail.
Okay.
The end.
Well,
next subject.
What is the next subject? There was something else. Oh, Cleveland. Cleveland is the next subject.
At least we're not Detroit. What about Cleveland?
Yeah, we have a hardware startup.
We're talking about Cleveland every week.
Well, I live here. We talk about Sydney. We talked about the Maker Faire 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
The Sydney Maker Faire. Cleveland is trying to do a hardware startup thing. It's really weird.
As in, like Cleveland, like the government?
No, it's actually it's a local like tech group. It's called Shaker Launch House. Shaker being the city that it's in, and it's this old car dealership and. Basically, they got some grants and they're trying to fund hardware startups, and it's really weird. I have to say, like being this close to it, it's. I mean, I know some of the people there. They're very nice, and they say that we have NASA here and a bunch of industrial places, but we might do hardware here. I don't think we do startups that well. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if I end up as an advisor or something. Might ask me to advise or something.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that. There is a start. I had no idea, but by a chance meeting a few weeks back, I ran into somebody who I knew who now works for a startup /accelerator /incubator /venture capital funding company here in Sydney, and that's what they do. Right?
That's what they do.
And anyway, speaking of Maker Faire and all that, I'm doing a fireside chat with the CEO of this. He wants to interview me in a fireside chat at the fair, at the Sydney Maker Faire. So that's going to be on August, I think, 16th. Don't quote me. August 16th, 12:30 to 1:15 or something. Anyway, be there or be square.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're going to have a chat about I don't know yet. We're still hashing it out. But anyway, it's been organised.
Well, we should be square about this, right? Because this is going to be something that our listeners are interested. This is not a trend that's slowing down. I think it's only speeding up, right? And let's be honest and frank about what hardware accelerators need, right? They need a pile of money. And
Right.
and sometimes, and interestingly, sometimes the people that start accelerators don't even have that. They actually go out to investors that go out. They go out and they say, "We have the knowledge. We're willing to do this kind of stuff, and you invest in us, and we'll invest in them, and then and then the investors get to also have first dibs at the people that are part of the thing, right?
They get a certain percentage, or
right,
first
exactly, and so
bite of the cherry,
and it's not like a bad thing. It's just I think that there was a lot of these accelerators outside of hardware to start with as well. There's all these software app-based ones.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to see more and more of these as hardware now. And
yes, that's what this mob want to get into. They've been software, but they want to get into hardware.
Well, and that's the same thing here in Cleveland, right? And I think that, as much as I like the people in Cleveland, and I'm sure that the people in Sydney are very nice as well, we're going to be seeing this where if people are listening, are interested in this kind of thing, you got to ask yourself, what are you really getting there? And there's sometimes that it's worth it, right? Like I think that
totally.
Like some of the big ones like Bolt and Lemnos and all those, like they have. It's not just having equipment, right? Anyone can buy a laser cutter and a 3D printer and everything else that they're going to have there, right? But it's going to be about connections, and it's going to be about mentorship, right? And those are the big ones. I think that's the big stuff. And then it's going to be how much money they want to give you for your idea effectively at the beginning, because that's all it is.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, man, I advise our listeners, listeners are going to be tempted, because I think a lot of our listeners are, doing interesting things with hardware. They're going to be tempted by this kind of stuff. They're going to be told great stories about why they should leave their jobs and work on a project full time and develop that sensor connected to Bluetooth, connected to a phone again, or they're, as Alicia likes talking about, the smartwatches, all the fitness trackers that are out there. Like, it's just be careful, guys. It's
oh, here comes the bandwagon. Well, there goes the bandwagon. Bye.
Right. Yeah, and I think we talked about that like a year or two ago. We kind of saw it coming, and this is kind of like
we always say,
yeah. I mean, it's there now, right? The money's there. There's enough, there's been enough Nest type stories. There's, all of the people with the money they've read the article about how hardware is a thing and how.
But still only 1 in 100, if you're lucky, make a huge success of themselves,
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, I haven't done this, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about this.
Yeah, I haven't done it either. I can't picture myself going, well, what are you going to give me that I don't already have, that I can't buy? Like, I could go and get a crowdfunding money, and then I can, with that money, I can... hire somebody who can actually design a case for me, and I can hire somebody who can, manufacture stuff for me and things like that. I don't know. What do you bring to the table?
I don't know, man. I think I look at all these stuff, like even the good ones, I look at them and I'm like, like they talk about like their expectations of like, oh, well, we want to be profitable in 2 years and we want to ramp our growth. And it's like, ramping growth is hard no matter how big you are, right? If you're GE or ABB or anyone else out there, like it's just a hard thing to do. Like Apple has legions of people and, a large number of factories in China that are dedicated to ramping. Like that is a hard thing to do. So
it is. And a lot of these people start up these businesses because they just want to do that. They just want to start a business. And to me, that's always been the wrong way to do it. It's like you've got an idea that you're passionate about. You start off, you bootstrap it, right? And if it's successful, it's successful. If it's not, you've had your fun. Go on with something else. It's no, but you don't have to, have this grand vision of building some gigantic business. The first thing a lot of people do when they get this Kickstarter money, I think we talked about this the other week, is that they fail because they get they get their $1 million on Kickstarter, and then they go out and they hire a CEO. And they hire a marketing person, and they hire a bloody,
and if you're part of a network or an accelerator or something like that, they're going to push you to do that too, because
exactly
they need growth. Growth is a thing. Growth. You can only have growth.
Oh, and you've got to have a CEO who knows what they're doing, and of course you've got to have a marketing person, and then you've got to have a logistics person, and you know, and
eventually you get to go back and be the scientist or the engineer back in the lab again. But then you have a new boss who yells at you about not growing fast enough. Hey, yeah. So there's messiness coming to the hard. I mean, like, this is not new, obviously, but I think we're going to see like. I think the way to say it is, if Cleveland has a hardware accelerator, as much as I like those guys, that's your story, folks.
Well, I'm surprised that there was actually one here in Sydney, and as big as they are.
Yeah.
Which is great, and they offer a good service for those who need it. But just make sure that you need it.
That's a great way to say it. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But that's the problem with a lot of these people. They don't know that they need it, whether or not they need it. So they're easy to be sold to. You know, they will. It's like it's very similar to all these YouTube partnerships. If you're a YouTube content creator, you'll get bombarded with all these requests from come and join us. We'll offer you everything, and we'll make you a huge success and turn you into the number one person on YouTube. And look at all these other people who have joined us, and they're successful. And well, they're not successful because they joined you. They're successful because they were talented and they had, the right thing at the right time. And they made their own success. You're just taking a cut.
Yeah.
Like, how much have you really helped them? In most cases, zero. No. You can grow on your own. It's not.
Well, and I think the other thing that we should mention here, too, is that, so we say hardware, right? We have a very particular version of hardware in our head and stuff like that. And
totally.
Actually, so a piece by Ben Einstein, who started the Bolt Accelerator in Boston, actually talks about this very deliberately, actually, about why hardware is interesting right now. And it's because it's a lead-in to an app ecosystem, right? If you look at all the companies that are like doing really well, right? It's Uber and it's Facebook and all. So it's still places where you control. It's Nest, right? Like Nest is a lead-in for it's the Nest system on your wall is the lead-in for the data back end, right? And that's where the money is. And it's kind of crazy to think about, but it's but Ben wrote a great piece about it. I mean, like, honestly, he wrote out the costs and the risks between selling someone a piece of hardware or just trying to get them paying to get them to have your app through advertising or whatever else. And hardware wins, and that's kind of crazy, right? I mean, but that also speaks to the type of hardware that they're going to look for, and I'm not sure that's what I want to do, No,
exactly. It's like you've got an idea for a niche bit of hardware which just exists in its own right. It's got no desire, need, or want to desire to connect to the cloud or be app-based or, or whatever, or offer a service or... I mean,
when you think about the things that are actually going to increase, or what do they call it? I think that's the Vlogbrothers. They decreasing world suck.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, decrease world suck. Like things that are actually going to help people is, it's going to be stuff that's might not be connected. So, that's another thing to keep in mind. Right. I don't know. We're being downers again.
Yeah,
your Kickstarter won't work. No, you shouldn't take money for your product idea. That's stupid.
But I think we've got data to back it up. There's so many that fail because you never hear about the fail. Everyone just sees the success, and then that's all they will promote to you is the success stories. And
yeah. What do you think about this? So like Little Bits. We talked about Little Bits before. What do you think about did you see their internet module?
No, I haven't looked at their stuff for a year or so.
Yeah, so people don't know they've got those snap together things. They have an internet module, and it was interesting. So they were at Aya, the CEO. She talked at SolidCon as well, and it kind of crosses over into this space of people starting hardware companies too, right? Because it's not just people that are doing hardware in the past. It's people that are interested in hardware. People maybe software folks that are interested in getting into hardware and stuff like that, and that's great, right? And I didn't actually think about it, but some people are doing things like using little bits for prototyping, just as like a concept, and then you bring it to someone like Dave or me or consultant. Obviously, people that I'm not doing that right now, but Dave's not
me neither.
But a consultant who could take that idea, right? It's basically at this point it's a concept, and then turn it into something that's different,
re-engineer it into something that's actual practical to manufacture it.
And I had never really thought about that as a prototyping platform, but it was kind of interesting brain switch because, at that point it is about accessibility to, if you would make something move, right? If you have a little servo, it doesn't have to be full power. It just has to say, and this would move next, right? You need an explanation to show someone. And I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think that Little Bits is still pretty pricey, because I always viewed it as like a toy, right? I thought of it as like a toy and a way to learn about electronics.
Yeah, that's how I thought it originally was.
Yeah, and it is a way to learn about electronics, but man, it's expensive. Just because
I haven't looked at the price.
Well, you need so many pieces. No, you don't need so many pieces. There's like starter kits and like it's like $100 to start and stuff like that. And that's like I think like 6 or 8 pieces and stuff like that. And it's just, but. I can totally see their hardware
cool
costs.
That because they snap together with little magnets and, it's all very jazzy. But I know.
But there's just a baked-in cost there because you're putting everything on its own PCB and there's the connection points and stuff like that. So, like for what I think it's a really interesting platform, and I think it's cool for and like thinking about that as a prototyping tool as well. Like you think about someone who's who could write an app ecosystem and then go show a prototype with this to someone. I think it's very interesting, but I don't know what else is past that. I see them everywhere, so I thought it was worth bringing up.
There you go.
I see.
Well, there's so many of these prototyping platforms these days. I mean, it's just, like the ability to be able to, if you've got a concept or an idea, the ability to be able to test that out is just fantastic these days.
Yeah.
But in the end, it still comes down to the same problem. Hardware is hard to make.
Yeah, right. You're going to still have to do something custom if you want to get your costs down enough to make a reasonable product. Especially consumer.
Holy crap. I'm looking at how many people are employed at Little Bits now.
How do you find that?
It's on their team page.
Oh,
littlebitscc.littlebits.cc. Holy crappiola. We're talking 3, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We're talking 50, 60 employees or something like that.
Wow.
To design
and they're
stuff.
VC backed as well, and they're open. I mean, like they're open source hardware.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you get VC backed like this. That's what you do. You go out and you hire a buttload of people, and without going, well, is it actually necessary?
Well,
I'm not talking them down in any way. It's fantastic. Okay, they're growing a great business. They got a great product. Okay, fine. I'm just saying, but that's the direction that everyone thinks you need to go in. You need to get this VC funding. You need to get millions of dollars. You need to hire 20 people. And, do you? I don't know. What's wrong with being the world's best at making this one little widget and being, a guy in your garage earning $1 million income a year just on your own? What's wrong with that? Why do you have to grow a company and and sort of, because the odds of failure become larger, I think, as you grow like this.
Yeah, well, you got a bigger
if you miss if that bandwagon just sails off into the sunset, and you're left high and dry, you start scrambling. Oh no, how can we change direction and move to new markets and keep all our 100 employees fed, and all that sort of jazz? And yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, man.
I don't know, but then again, I'm not businessy. A big. Well, both of us, right? We're not very big businessy kind of people.
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about this before, but we're kind of stuck in that same. We're kind of basing our business on our selves, right?
Yeah,
I might be
exactly.
I might be able to get out under it a little bit more than you.
To do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But, I always base everything on what my ability to be able to do stuff is. The last thing I want to do is hire somebody to do it.
Right. And if you want to, if you take on money and they expect you to grow, it's like, well, yeah, you gotta, right? You got to make that money into more money.
Well, you've got it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the idea.
It.
So
So
I
don't know.
Hope they do well. I think that's it's interesting now that they have this internet module now though. So like basically, now it's even
I see
it's
it.
easier
is
to
it
prototype.
This is the cloud bit, is it?
Yeah, right.
The cloud bit.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so now
see.
now people can make connected devices, prototype with that kind of thing, and then later you just can spin it into something else. So it's interesting, We'll see. I would actually be really interested to see, if there are, if people know about stories that are, some like a device that started as like a prototyping platform like this that then got rolled in. I mean, not like like Arduino, you could say the same kind of thing, right? But the stories I see,
they've stayed pretty much true to their original thing. I mean, they don't have. They haven't really tried to branch out into much else. They've got half a dozen Arduino boards, and that's it.
No, you're wrong on
Haven't
that
they?
one. Oh yeah, man.
I'm totally wrong. Oh, I haven't caught up, have I? I'm way behind the times.
They released a bunch of at like Maker Faire Rome last year. They're like partnered with a bunch of people, and now they're kind of more of a licensing type company. It's like because
okay, right.
Now they have a bunch of Linux based boards and everything else, and there's just
right.
Yeah. But I don't think there's any VC money there. We should stop talking about VC stuff. That gets so gross and yeah.
We're just not entrepreneurial enough, are we?
No. No, it's
no. Well, they talk about, don't be scared to fail. It's like, well, I'm not scared to fail, but I think failing is just stupid, right? I mean, if you build something up so big that that, you should know what the risks are, and the risks are, and like I'm not going to go into an area that I know is incredibly high risk of failing because I think that's just stupid, right? I'm just like, I don't know. I just like to play the odds. That's why I like the bootstrapping thing.
Yeah,
that's why, okay, you make 10 of something. You make a little bit of profit. Okay, you make another 20. Then you make 100. Then you make 1,000. And you build up your money. You build up your cash. You don't take on all this credit and, everything else. And it's like, I can never understand it.
Well, yeah, and that's the difference, though. Like, that's a company that's going to take, 5-10 years to build up, and that's good, right? I mean, I think that's a good way to do it. Like, good enough for Bill and Dave, good enough for me, man. I mean, granted, that was a different time, right? They had military contracts and everything else too. But yeah, I mean, like that is how a lot of businesses are built, especially in hardware over time. So it's growth is growth.
And your
can be
odds
messy.
of success are much higher. Your odds of failing are quite small, And if you do fail, well, okay, you haven't lost any money, you haven't lost any.
I think the bigger risk is
nobody
stagnation.
wants to buy your product anymore.
Yeah.
Then there's stagnation and, things like that. But, still,
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about it. We're probably talking out our arse.
We probably are. What else did you want to mention? I wanted to mention something else this week. The Little Box Challenge. You see this thing? The Google?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people have wanted me to... I haven't actually looked into the real details of it yet. Anyway, Google are offering, what is it, $1 million? $1
million for a micro inverter that they specified the power density for it. And it's also IEEE as well. That's a 50 watts per cubic inch.
Oh, yeah.
Not
I
much
didn't
love
know
for the
IEEE. Oh, yeah, there's their big logo at the top. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Kilowatt scale inverter with the highest power density.
At least 50 watts per cubic inch?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so it's got to be at least 1 kilowatt. They just say design and build a kilowatt scale inverter.
Yeah, and they give
at
a
least
nice
50 watts per cubic.
They give a nice scale there as well, and yeah, it's a nicely designed website and everything. So it's interesting. We'll see how this plays out. I mean, like, I think if you look at the problem right now, right? Like we've talked in the past about we've talked out our butts on the past about you know, the efficiencies of inverters and stuff like that when we were talking about solar stuff.
Yep.
They're pretty efficient right now, right? But it's about also shrinking it down, getting rid of you know, larger components, stuff like that. So that, you know, they're talking about gallium nitride and silicon carbide and stuff like that. But it's a matter of actually implementing it and doing it reliably over time. So
I see this more as a not a mechanic, a thermal engineering challenge than anything else. You know, it's like, and the problem with this is, right, because it's such a thermal challenge, and the electronics isn't cheap to prototype either. You know, at this sort of scale. In fact, my mate, I showed it to my mate Doug. You know, he does power supply, right? He's a power supply guru, and he said, "Oh yeah, I would have a crack at it if I had a spare, you know, 10 to 20 grand to throw around, and you know, and a buttload of time, right? And yeah, it would take you." You know, and I was estimating the same thing. Yeah, it might take you, you know, 10 or 20 grand to really prototype this successfully. Yeah. You know, it needs some serious money. You know, I'm just throwing that figure out there, floating it. But,
well, I think, so they list other sponsors on there. So like Cree, we've had John Edmond on the program before. You know, he talked about a lot of silicon carbide stuff. They're saying that some of the stuff they'll probably give away. You know, I'm sure that they all want their parts in the final design, stuff like that. So they'd probably give away some of that. But you're right. I mean, spinning boards and, you know, testing this stuff. Yeah, it's
spinning metal, and you might have to liquid cool it or some other solution to cool this thing down. You know, it's going to get expensive pretty quickly.
Right.
And, you know, you'd want to be sure of yourself. You'd want to be really sure of your idea. You know, if you start just go, like, you can't just dick around with this on a breadboard, right? You've either got to go all or nothing.
Right.
You've either got to devote a ton of time to it and a ton of money, or don't bother, is my opinion on that. Even
I mean, go big or go home,
details.
Right?
Just, yeah.
Oh, here they go. I clicked other specs as well, and they have 2 kVA loads, power density 50 watts per cubic inch, power factors of 0.7 to 1. Yeah, people can read all this crap, but we'll be taking in 400 volt DC
and it has to be no more
power.
than 40 cubic inches. Inches?
I know, that's what I was saying before. They didn't know love for the metric, you know? Like, maybe it changes based on what, maybe if you put in .au, maybe that'll change.
Right.
Come on, Google. It doesn't exist.
And it's got to be no more than 60 degrees during operation anywhere on the outside of the device that can be touched. Well, what does that include? Ambient? Well, at what ambient? Because your device is always going to be ambient plus. So if your ambience, you know, if you're in Australia in summertime in bloody North Australia, right, you're going to be 40 degrees ambient. Right, before you even start.
Yeah, but I think it's just about, you know, so that means, and if you're in Qatar, right, and it's 120F or whatever that is, it was at 45C or something. Yeah. You that sucks.
What? Wait, here I am down in Antarctica shooting my video for this, and it's only got to 60 degrees. It's fine.
That's right. Yeah. Our base assumption here, folks, is that we're going to always be running this in Cleveland in December.
That's it.
Cleveland wins.
Yay.
Yeah.
So,
do you know what topology? I don't really know any. The only inverter topology I know is just like a Royer oscillator. That's the one that I always think about. But that's like really old and
no, I don't know inverter. I'm not into that sort of thing. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
It'll be interesting to see if it's because I mean, like, you think about what you're trying to drive. You're trying to drive. There's some crazy loads, right? You think about trying to drive a compressor on like a fridge or like a I don't know what the load has to be, if it's have to be reactive or whatever. Must output 240 volt, 68 hertz AC single phase power. But if you're driving like a fridge, right, like a fridge in Australia, right, that runs on 240.
That's interesting that they've specified 240. I thought it'd be very Yank centric.
I'm guessing it's so that it could be used in all locations, right? I mean, if this.
Right. Oh, okay.
This is likely a do good for the world type of thing as well, right? Where it's, this can be...
that's what they're saying. Yeah, that's why they're saying 240 volts at 60 hertz. Well, here it's 240, 50 hertz.
Right,
Everywhere
but it'd be
that
adjustable.
240 is 50. It's adjustable, so that means, okay. Right. Yeah, so it's got to be capable of that maximum output voltage and frequency. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so Dave and I will not be entering this, but we do wish everyone luck. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, like, look, anytime there's money that is put forward for big competitions like this, or open connected devices like the Hackaday Prize, it's a good thing, right? It hopefully motivates people to do it, but I think ultimately, it's going to be people that can dedicate a lot of time to it. I think you're right. You're right on the money about that.
Yep. Time and money. As I said, you won't prototype this on a breadboard.
Right.
Don't even think about it. Right. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So, is there any runner-up prizes? And does a prize get awarded if somebody gets so close but not quite? I mean, do you still get the money and nobody else did it, but your design got so close, but you only got 94% efficiency instead of 95?
Yeah. Right.
Like,
I do not know.
Right.
They do mention grand prize, so maybe. Yeah, but it's interesting that it's like the power is kind of boring too, right? I mean, like this is an important thing, but like power is kind of boring. It's very incremental changes these days too. So they are asking for some big changes. So
and then it must comply with the EMC FCC requirements. What are you supposed to do? You go and spend $5-10 grand to get that tested?
Maybe they expect EMC engineers to do that stuff.
This is big money, big time will go home.
Yeah, you could have a big outlay. So we'll see.
I'm afraid, that's not the. Yep. Yeah, why they can't have a $30,000 prize for best concept or something. Even if it's not practical. I don't know. Just I'd be very curious to know how many entries they actually get.
Yeah, they said they're taking 18.
If they get a lot of try-hard tire kickers, here's my breadboard circuit, it really works, really does, trust me.
Yeah.
And they all speak like that,
Right, of course, right. What about this? So you put an interesting link on the subreddit too. What is this EDA solver thing? I was interested by this.
I just got this morning. I'll have to forward you the guy's email. Literally popped up this morning. I haven't looked at it, hadn't tried it, but his concept is, hang on, let me call up his email, and here we go. Oh no, wrong.
Well, it links to EU Web at the bottom, so I don't know if is he part of like Aspen? Is it Aspen Labs or something like that? I know that they did some other stuff for them.
I don't believe he didn't say he was associated. He's an engineering student going to the University of Tennessee.
Cool. Okay.
Basically, it's the website translates your project requirements into a JSON format.
JSON.
And then
who doesn't love that?
Right. Well, I don't know about JSON.
It's like XML. Meh. That's the way to think about it. Remember, we mentioned this the other week. You said JSON.
Yeah, we mentioned it, but I've never.
What's JSON?
Yeah, I've never played with it. Whatever. Yeah. Okay, and then he's got an algorithm which takes care of finding parts and pin connections that support each other. For example, this works great for microcontroller projects or robots. For example, he says, it can be used to find the cheapest Arduino model that supports 10 servo motors and matches the pins in such a way that the I2C ports are still preserved.
Huh.
So it can be thought of as a project's requirement to schematic generator. If that makes sense. Anyway, that's all he says in his email. So yeah, it's like, and it's open source in that you can add your own products to the GitHub repository.
Yeah, right.
So that if you've got you can add all of the Arduinos, you can add all of the TI launchpads, you can add any other components you like. Doesn't have to be development boards, and then somehow and then you can add all that data in there, and then the algorithm will search everything, and you put in your requirements and goes, you need to use the Arduino Uno, to match your requirements or something. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. Have we reached the auto router of part picking, Dave?
And the auto router of parts picking, yeah. I mean, in theory, that's what it's designed for. It'll pick your parts if you had a big enough database.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool. That's a cool idea. I mean, like,
it's a cool idea. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yep. So
it pulls in costs and everything too.
You would have to try it in practice. You'd have to try it in anger.
Right.
To see if it's really useful.
Right.
And of course, it's a chicken and egg thing. You've got to have a big enough database to begin with before it becomes useful.
Yes, I know all about that.
Yeah.
That is my new job.
Because it's because it's a public a GitHub thing.
Yeah.
In theory, it needs enough people to like it enough to or believe in it enough to go and add enough parts to it.
Yeah.
And then you've got to trust that people have added those parts correctly and they're usable and blah, blah, blah. And there's no errors in it, blah, blah, blah. So,
yeah.
Anyway, it's an interesting idea. It's a bit out of the boxy.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay. Yep.
I'll have to try it out.
Oh, there is actually a live demo. I haven't actually run the live demo.
Yeah, I just clicked that.
Yet.
I didn't.
All right.
I didn't get it at first, so.
Right, okay. Right. Maybe it needs more explanation.
Yeah.
All I see is a lot of code being executed and it's spat out a 5mm RGB LED and a motor drive board and a something. And cost. Like, it's got, you need 3 of these and they cost X each. And it's spat out, you have 30 components that take a total power of 51 watts and cost $159. And here are the pin connections.
Yeah.
So, like, it literally, like, kind of does fit his thing of, like, it's almost like spits out a schematic-y, netlist kind of schematic-y thing and BOM kind of thing from your project requirements, for want of a better word.
Yeah. Well, that's the example. We'll see if it, you got to put it. Would you say you have to try it in anger? Yeah.
Got to try it in anger.
You said LED stuff. I tried out those LED strips. Have you ever tried those? The programmable LED strips.
I haven't. They're a dime a dozen now.
They are, yeah. But I have to say, it never ceases to amaze me. Like, I could do the most interesting electronics on day 45, and on day 46, if I blink LEDs, it still does it for me, man. I don't know. Yeah. It's really
all I hear about are these Adafruit Neo Pixel.
Yeah, that's what
things.
I got.
It's like,
that's what I got.
Oh, right.
They're
okay.
cool. They're cool things.
Yeah, they're cool. I'm just sick of hearing about them. Like, everywhere I turn, people are, talking about these bloody things.
Well, you know why they're cool, right?
I don't know.
They have they have 3 LEDs, a processor, and
it's
a regulator
an individual RGB driver on each one
on the chip,
and they're flexible, and you can, and it's a single input, right? Serial input or something.
Yeah, serial input. It's all daisy chain. Yeah, it's cool, man.
It's cool.
Everybody loves blinkies.
Okay.
Everybody loves it.
Look, fair enough.
Burning Man's coming up. There's always blinkies there.
Right.
I'm never going to that, but
right. Okay.
At least I don't think I am.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anything else we should talk about this week? I don't know. There's other stuff that's interesting on this list. I think people should check out Jack's new video about getting names right in firmware. That was a good one. Yeah.
Nah, look, we're being gone for an hour and a half. That's enough of our bullshit.
I know.
Yeah.
MQTT, Squink. Go check out the subreddit. There's always good links there. It's mostly me.
We just don't. We don't need to do the show. It's redundant. Just every week, go look at the subreddit.
Right. Every week, and then you and I talk about cameras.
Right.
And hardware startups. All right, man. Cool. Yeah. Yep. I'll talk to you next week.
So. Yes, and if you want to meet me, go to the Maker Fair in like a couple of weeks. I think we'll be doing a show slightly before then. But yeah,
probably will.
Anyway.
Yeah, next week's guest is not confirmed yet, so I cannot announce it, although it is an exciting one. So, yeah, I will announce it on the site if it all goes well.
All right.
Cool, man. Talk to you next week.
Bye.